Lieutenant Juarez went into labor at 0400 hours. The Enterprise is awaiting the arrival of the starship Zukov, and guest quarters have been prepared for Ambassador T'Pel. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek The Next Generation Season 4, Episode 11, entitled Data's Day. Some of you may call it Data's Day, but you're wrong. Story by Harold Apter, teleplay by Harold Apter and Ronald D. Moore, directed by Robert Weimer. This was the first episode of 1991, January 5th, 1991. Where were you, everybody? And how are you today, Cirroc Lofton?
I am great. Doing great. It's Rock's Day.
Yep. There should have been a Jake's Day. That would have been fun. Hey, everybody, I know that I said Lieutenant Juarez went into labor at 0400 hours. I know the correct way to say it is 0400 hours. So don't get on me too hard about that. What about Jake's Day? What do you think? Would that have been a fun episode?
Uh, yeah, I guess, Jake, getting in touch with his emotions or talking about the friends that he has in his life. I thought that was one of the aspects I liked about this episode. Just the whole rundown of what each person means to me kind of thing. I thought I could have gotten a lot of that. Um,
Yeah.
because it's both data analyzing his emotions and his relationships with people, and also acknowledging certain things that I didn't know before this, per se. And I'll give you an example. Data had a line in this episode where he says, "Geordi is my best friend." Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I think he said something like, "Geordi is my best friend." And he acknowledged that. And I don't remember hearing that before this. This is the first I actually hear those words spoken.
Hmm.
I've seen chemistry between them, but Jordy has good chemistry with a lot of people. But um, to hear those particular words of what Jordy means to Data,
Jordy's got a lot of chemistry with dudes, but women, he's got.
yeah,
Let's see how that works out. Um,
because he might be Wesley's best friend too. I mean, I would guess that as well.
hmm.
You know,
Yeah. Now he calls him his friend in previous episodes, but this might be the first time he calls him his best friend. And I really like this episode a lot. And I remember predicting that this was probably Jason Okun's favorite episode of season 4, because I feel like for a lot of longtime Star Trek fans, we're okay with these bottle episodes that give you an in-depth look at a specific character. And this was that, not only that, but we were introduced to 3 new characters. And this makes me think, how cool would it be if every single season had Data's Day, Riker's Day, Troy's Day, right? Uh, Troy's Day sounds like Thursday, but like season 1 would definitely have a Picard's Day because they really would try to focus on Picard. Season 2 would probably be a Riker's Day. Season 1 might have a Wesley's Day too, actually, come to think of it. It would most likely be a Wesley's Day. And then maybe season 3 might have a Troy's Day. And then season 5. Anyway, that would be so much fun to see that because when you're looking at an episode through the lens of a specific character, you're seeing the world around them. And so you get to be introduced to new characters and new ideas and new themes. Like if you have a Beverly Crusher's Day, you get to meet the people in sickbay, the medical staff, her
Mhm.
favorite nurse or the doctor that she kind of rumbles with, and then she comes home and it turns out she has a pet hamster or something. You know what I mean? You get to kind of expand on each group a little bit more. And that's just so much fun. I wish we had done that more in this show. But, there are other episodes that are similar to that, but this one really hits it. Did you enjoy it though? Because I sure did.
There were aspects of it that I enjoyed. A little bit concerned with the tempo for me. think that the director Robert Waymar could have picked up the tempo a little bit. To me, it was a little bit slow in certain areas, and the shots were not moving it quicker. They were
Mhm.
kind of slowing the pace down as well, some of those shots. So I would have liked kind of a different director's spin on it. But there were aspects of it that I did enjoy, and that is kind of the backstory elements. For example, I got to see where Keiko and O'Brien get married, and for me, this is new information. Like,
It's
okay, this is what,
Keiko's big
yeah,
introduction. This is it. This was her
yeah,
moment. Yeah.
yeah, and so that's why I'm gratified for the origin of that kind of storyline because I know Keiko and I have that relationship with her, but I didn't know this is how they met. I didn't know Data was the one that introduced them. So those kinds of filling in on the backstory is what I appreciate about this episode.
Hmm. Were you a little surprised to see Keiko? Were you just like, whoa, all of a sudden, there's
I
Rosalind
was super
Chow?
surprised. Yeah, I was super surprised. And then I was thinking, this is the first time I'm seeing her, right? Because I almost felt like
Hmm.
in my mind she was always there, but I guess she wasn't, and that was just me filling in the gap in my own, database. But no, actually seeing her for the first time in this episode was great. Seeing the origin of their story, like I said, also the fact that Data knows her longer and he introduced the two of them. I think that's a nice backstory. Um, which is, interesting because you would think that O'Brien's his best friend too, right? He's like he introduced him to his wife. You know what I mean? So it's like he must know him pretty well.
Hmm.
Um, and the other thing that I gathered from this episode was this is a big increase in O'Brien's storyline, right? Now he's actually getting his character filled out with, more storyline. He's getting a supplemental character added on, which is
Exactly.
which
That's
is
how you
when
expand a character. Now, right?
that's how
Like,
you know you're not going anywhere. Yeah,
mhm,
it's like Lita coming in with Rom. It's like, oh, we're expanding this character. This character's growing. It's not shrinking. And
mhm.
so for me, this is a sign that they like O'Brien and that they want to expand on his character.
Yeah, it's a huge step. And it's interesting you mentioned Rom because there's a very good parallel between those two characters. Rom in the first episode of Deep Space Nine was just called like Ferengi Pit Boss, right? He didn't even have a name.
Mm-hmm.
He was totally different. He was just like, ah, doing this kind of stuff. And he really wasn't going to do much. Same thing with O'Brien. When O'Brien was first introduced, also in the first episode of Next Generation, he didn't even have a name. He wasn't called O'Brien. He was called like Battle Bridge Lieutenant or something like that. So both of them were in the first episodes of their series without a name, but they had like a title, a description of who they portrayed. And then they kind of came back later on as like minor supplementary roles, like he's transporter chief, he's Quark's brother. And then they start getting girlfriends or they start getting wives, and their storyline starts to expand because the actor is shining through and we're loving
Yes.
the actor and he's super charming and making the character likable. Wow, that is I never thought of that, but that's a very paralleled trajectory with those two.
Yeah, and the other thing I would add to that is that one of the things that becomes synonymous with Chief O'Brien's character is his crankiness and his kind of agitation
Mhm.
and a crankiness. And I believe that those things started to become clear in this episode as well. So as far as character definition, I started to see some of that um, become more apparent than it had been in previous episodes where he would get one line here, one line there. In this moment, he was like, well, why would she go and do that? And he's complaining and he's doing the O'Brien complaining about things and awkwardness when he tried to sit down and he gets up and he's kind of awkward. that becomes a big character defining aspect of how he portrays the character. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. We've gotten little hints of it in the past, but only because we're looking for that. We know what kind of character O'Brien is. So when he goes like, "Oh, I don't know, sir," or something like that, we're like, "Oh, I've seen a little O'Brien
Yeah,
sneaking out." But this was the
yeah,
first time that the writers are like, "Let's make him haughty. Let's make him cranky. Let's make him gruff. Let's make him a little rough around the edges, you know?"
yeah, yes.
Uh, that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, and obviously we get to know a lot more about Data, like that he has a fabulous smile.
What kind of awkward smile was that? It was so, and he does it right into the camera. Like he breaks the wall and he looks right into the camera like, "Hey, look what I got here." And it was kind of, I was like, what? It was it was a little bit contradictory to how I perceived Data to be, right? It was too cheesy. It was that right there was a Brent Spiner moment. That was not a Data moment.
Right. Brent Spiner's comedic stylings
Yes,
shine through on Data, which really makes him
yes.
brilliant to be able to,
But when he holds it back, I like it better. When it's more in the subtext of what he's saying as opposed to this kind of overt facial
yeah.
expression. When he's when he's like, "I don't understand. Why? What do you mean?" And he's doing it that way. I like that version of his comedic stuff.
There was a specific line that kind of illustrates that, I think. And that was when I think Beverly asked him, "Are you nervous?" It was either Beverly or Keiko asked him, "Oh, you're not nervous, are you? Are you nervous about the wedding?" And he goes, "I am not nervous." Like the way he said it was kind of like, "What?
Yeah,
Why would you even say such a thing? Why would I be, and we're laughing because we know he's
yeah,
not nervous, but also we're kind of like, I don't know, Data, maybe you are a little nervous, you
yeah,
little rascal. I am not nervous. He's always so
yeah.
puzzled. And the way he talks about the way Riker was like flirting with that girl, he's like, yeah, and so this thing happened and that thing happened. And he's like, I've noticed there may be a correlation between humor and sex, and that was
Yeah.
also fun.
For example, his awkward joke when he runs up on Jordy at the barbershop. He gives him that lump head or whatever it
You
was, lump head.
lunkhead. You lunkhead.
He's like, "I'm experimenting with jokes." It's like, no, not that wasn't the one. But you do a lot of experimenting with jokes.
Yeah, this is where I do all my experimentation of jokes.
My favorite Data line in this episode, though, hands down, and this again back to the kind of comedy that I like best. This is the kind of comedy to me when Brent Spiner is killing it as Data. This is the kind of stuff he does. When he was in the dancing scene with Dr. Crusher, and she starts teaching him that 1 foot move, and he starts doing that 1 foot move over and
Yeah.
over, and he says, "Am I dancing, Doctor?"
And she's like, stop, stop, stop. And he's just like dancing into her and all that. So funny.
Yeah, when he said that, I was dying. I was dying. So those
Yeah.
kinds of that's the kind of humor that I like the best out of him. Where he's awkward, but he doesn't even know that he's awkward. He's acting like he doesn't know that he's awkward. To me, those are the moments when the funniest for me.
Hmm.
So yeah, the over the top facial expressions that's like to me that's more Brent Spiner saying, look, they gave me a pretty girl to dance with.
Yeah, there were a lot of funny moments just in that dancing thing too. Like not just when he was dancing into her, which was funny, but I also thought it was really cool the way they switched hands. He's looking down at her feet and he's going like this, and she's like, "Okay, now
Yeah,
switch." And they just went whoosh like that, and their hand
yeah,
just clasped. I was like, "Wow, that was kind of cool,"
yeah.
because he's looking down at it, and I thought that was fun choreography. I don't know whose idea that was. I have a feeling that was not a director thing. I have a feeling that was either Beverly or Brent, sorry, Gates or Brent saying, "Hey, why don't we like that?" Because
Now
they're,
Gates is a dancer, right? Because she looks like
yes,
she's
And
she's a
if I
dancer.
remember correctly, she choreographed that entire scene. She's also a dance choreographer, and she choreographed that entire thing. And she did all the moves, and Brent Spiner did most of the moves. You can notice a
Yeah,
stunt
I saw
double.
that one guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for a couple of those things, but he did about 70% of it, which is pretty impressive on his part.
That he was husky data. He was a
Yeah.
little bit bulkier than Brent Spiner to be like body type wise.
Hmm.
That wasn't as slim as Brent is. So the contrast was there immediately. He had his head down so you wouldn't see, but
Right,
you know,
right. But I believe Gates did choreograph that entire thing, and she clearly knows what she's
yeah, you could
doing
tell.
because she was
Yeah,
unbelievable.
she was unbelievable. She would look like she's a high level dancer. Actually, after saying that, I was like, wow, where was Dancing with the Stars? Because she would have been perfect for a Dancing with the
Wow. Yeah.
Stars, you know, cameo. Um, but yeah, those were that whole dance scene in general was just fantastic. I The moment where he's kind of dancing, he's looking down at her feet, but still kind of moving, and then she's like, "Look me in the eyes," and he says, "This is a lot of information to process," or something to that
Yeah.
effect. And another moment where he had me rolling because here he is, this supercomputer that could calculate stuff to the second and and to the tenth decimal, but dancing was like complex for him, right? He's like, wait a
Hmm.
minute, I gotta look up, I gotta
I
move
got to
my feet, I
lead.
gotta.
Well, how do I lead? What does that even mean? So here's something over at imdb.com real quick. Check this out. Gates
All right.
McFadden, choreographer.
Oh yeah.
Also of note, Chance Taylor was the dance double for Brent Spiner. We also know our buddy
Okay.
Eric Stillwell. Richard Arnold is
Yeah.
here. The Akudas. A lot of fun and interesting names. Brannon Braga, intern.
Wow. Uncredited.
Rick Sternbach. I mean, Susan Sackett. These are a lot of big names that we know now, but
Yeah.
back in 1990 and 91, they were
Yeah.
an uncredited intern. They were an assistant here and there. But
Yeah.
anyway, really interesting. Good stuff there.
Well, Gates clearly can dance. You can tell that she can dance, and dance in multiple ways, not just like tap dancing or she can dance in whatever kind of form you need her to dance. And I believe Dana as well can also dance to a high
Mhm.
level of degree. So yeah, they get an opportunity to showcase their skills. No less than Patrick Stewart gets to showcase his Shakespeare every once in a while. They actually gave Gates a chance to showcase her dancing ability. The dancing doctor.
Yeah, and then that's how they do it. Whenever you want somebody to have a nickname, you just have them say, "Oh, don't call me the dancing. I don't want that nickname again like before." And everybody's like, "Yeah, let's call her the dancing doctor." It works. Yeah, let's do it. Um, that's how they, that's how
That
they do
is
that
that.
thing. But
Yeah,
there were a lot of
don't do
laughs.
that.
There was also another funny moment for me was when T'Pel comes on the ship and Data is in the turbo lift with her and we're listening to his internal monologue, of course. And she's standing there and she's, right here and he's just kind of
Yeah, that.
like looking at her out of the corner of his eye.
And to me, that's the non-data part. To me,
That's
that's
Brent.
that's Brent, right? Because at that moment, he chose to take it a little bit over the top in that moment because he did that several times, and unless he's got some kind of emotional chip upgrade, it's not consistent with the data that I think I've seen up until this point. Where he plays awkward moments and he doesn't actually look at people with those kinds of eye rolls and like what is this dude talking about face. He takes people at face value, or he logically says actually that is incorrect, and he's more matter of fact about it and less facially emotionally. So I
Hmm.
thought he went a little bit over the top on the facial expressions and facial emojis. Another example of that was when so you said in the elevator scene with T'Pel, right? He kind of like he's looking at her like what is she like? Look, look at her
Hmm.
hat or something. I don't know what the face was, what she was, what it was that was like making him
He
feel that
was
way. But
just he was just doing the internal monologue of like, I wonder why she's here. I wonder what's going on here. And so while he's thinking that, he's just like looking at her like, you know.
yeah, yeah, and he did that again at another point where I felt, oh, in the barber shop. He comes in, he talks to Jordy, and then behind him is this alien, which looked really cool with the makeup. This woman, was dressed up and was getting
Yeah.
her hair laser beamed or whatever it was that the barber was doing, right? But he's standing there giving a close up to Jordy, talking directly to Jordy, facing the camera, and then he does one of these things where he kind of like notices that she's getting her hair done behind him, and he
Hmm.
does one of these like, that's weird. Like you, getting your hair done, and like another emotionally expressive, facially expressive moment that you don't see from Data, right? He's like, "Oh, that's curious. You're getting your hair done. Oh, that's weird."
Hmm.
Um, you don't see those kinds of moments on Data. He's very like just processing information. So you would see him more like, "Oh, okay, you're back there doing that." It wouldn't be like that's weird. Like, what kind of alien are you? Or what are you getting done to your hair?
Yeah. Brent Spiner sneaks in a lot of human reactions to Data constantly. And obviously more so in this episode. Like when somebody says something that's a little puzzling, he goes like, hmm. Sometimes he just does a little, huh, or you know, like a reaction. I'm like, I don't think an android would just process it and move on, but he reacts. He goes, huh, or or like little things like that. Oh, puzzling. Yeah, whatever. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll nitpick a little bit more on the other side. We're going to take a break, and then I'd love to talk about the characters that were introduced. That was a lot of fun. We kind of touched on two of the three. We'll be right back on the seventh. Say it with me, rule. People are like, I'm not
Rule.
gonna, that's weird. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the seventh rule with Cirroc, the game changer Lofton.
Hello, hello.
Nobody beats him at Dig Dug. Nobody. Dig Dug was a fun one. All right, here are the trivioids.
Yeah.
I had to stop myself with the trivioids this week. There are way too many. Lieutenant
Okay.
Juarez went into labor at 0400 hours. The Enterprise is awaiting the arrival of the starship Zukov. Guest quarters have been prepared for Ambassador T'Pel. Keiko Ishikawa wants to call off the wedding. Data introduced Miles to Keiko. The Enterprise was commissioned 1,550 days ago. Mr. Mott is just a barber, not a miracle worker. Data considers Worf to be a kindred spirit. Beverly Crusher was awarded first prize tap and jazz competition in St. Louis. Data feeds Spot feline supplement 74. That's one of his favorites, I bet. Data offers Chief O'Brien a pillow. On Galvin 5, a marriage is considered successful only if children are produced within a year of the marriage. Andorian marriages require groups of 4. Data has the same safeguards as the ship's computer. Data has a great smile. And Sickbay reports Lieutenant Umbato broke 2 ribs during a holodeck exercise. All right. That's a lot. Um, Keiko Ishikawa, I had to look that up to find out because I was going to call her Keiko O'Brien, but I was like, wait, no, she's not yet Keiko
Yeah.
O'Brien. She
Yeah.
will
We
be.
found out her maiden name. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was good. Maybe Mike can weigh in on some of the meaning of that name, if it has some
Hmm.
kind of historical meaning
Well,
or.
I could tell you that there was a baseball player on the San Francisco Giants a while back named Travis Ishikawa.
Oh,
Um, that's
good
all I got.
knowledge.
That's all I
That's good
got.
knowledge. Hey,
Thank you.
more Ishikawa than I got. All I got is Bullshikawa.
Close. Very close.
So who's the other character that you were saying was introduced in this episode?
Okay.
So we have Keiko,
Well,
uh,
here's something interesting.
T'Pel.
Vasal. I think Vasal might have been the person getting their hair cut. Oh, and there was also, I did not see her, but April Grace was back as the transporter technician Hubble. Remember,
I saw that.
I didn't
That's
see
the
her in
black
there,
woman.
but yeah, but I see her in the credits. So she was definitely
Yeah,
there. So this was a rare occasion where we have Transporter Chief O'Brien and Transporter Technician Hubble. Oh, maybe
yeah,
was she there in the scene where they were trying to figure out what happened with the at the
yes,
transporter pad? Okay, that makes
yeah.
sense.
That's transporter technician Hubble.
Yep, like the Hubble telescope, which is no doubt named after the person that invented it.
Actually,
Um,
I saw a lot of new people on the bridge. There was a Lieutenant Kyle or some guy looking guy at the
yeah, yeah,
helm
yeah,
over
yeah.
there.
Replacing our girl Alan Dale. What was Allenby? Replacing
Oh
Allenby,
yeah, yeah.
which is the
Um,
second coming of Alan A. Alan A was pretty good.
and Alan B. Yeah, and then there was another guy in the back. There was a bunch of new um,
Yeah,
people on the bridge,
right.
and
So,
made me think about what we were talking about just a small introduction would be nice. You can't have
yeah.
like five new people, and I'm like, who the hell are these guys? This is the B team.
Oh, looks like there was an Ensign J sighting too. I did not. This is another episode where she appeared in that I did not see her. Did you see Tracy Coco?
Um, I think I did actually, but like I said, there were five new people, four or five new people on the bridge that I saw, and
So she was on the bridge.
there were a bunch. Even for example, there was a redhead that Riker was talking to at the end, was
Yeah.
kind of flirting with or whatever, and I was like, who is she? Like there was a bunch of new people in this
Well, I'll
episode
tell
that
you
I
some of
saw.
their yeah, I see them in the credits. So there was Crewman Martinez, there was an Ensign Kellogg, there was an Ensign J, of course we know. There was a science division officer played by Denise Duschel. That might have been her, the redhead. Denise Duschel. And there was the Enterprise D ensign. I don't know why you have to say Enterprise D ensign. Jeremy Doyle. There was an operations division ensign played by Eben Ham. Enterprise D sciences officer. That's very similar to a science division officer, played by Melanie Hathorn. And there was Jones, who was played by Randy James, our good buddy Jones, played by Randy James. There was also an engineer played by Terry Noel. There was Command Division Ensign. There was Patty played by Denise Lynn
A lot of
Roberts.
people. I told you.
Wow, that's like a
I told you.
dozen.
Look,
Yeah,
it's a
pretty
dozen
good.
people that we've never seen before. I could like a couple we've seen before, but a lot we haven't. And that's why I was thinking, where did everybody go? So you basically barely had a little bit of Riker. Maybe this was, Riker had a day on this shoot. Picard may have had a day or two on this week of shooting.
Mhm.
Um, Jordy might have had a day or two. Like they really everybody got to take the day off for Data's day, and I'm sure they all were happy to have just a little bit of work to do and not so much being heavy in it. We just saw Marina Sirtis coming off of her heavily featured episode, so she got a break as well. As far as workload in this particular episode.
hmm It's really cool also because we got to see the bridge multiple times when it wasn't filled with senior officers, right? The night
Yeah.
watch and then the watch before the night watch where Worf was in charge. And so we got to see like that beta
Mm-hmm.
crew and that delta crew, things like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it gamma crew? I don't know. Gamma's three and delta's four, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know, but I did notice that Worf was in charge, and then when Data comes in, he kind of reported to him, and now Data was essentially captain for that time. So, it's like acting captain essentially
and that
moments.
stuff
I
is
like,
fun. And it
yeah,
makes
it's
sense
fun.
that he would be the night watch because he doesn't have to sleep. So,
Yeah.
that's easy. But so the characters that were introduced as far as, you know, characters that we'll see again, Otherwise, if it's just a one-time thing like T'Pel, we don't see her again, um, as far as I know. What's his name? The Admiral Mendek, the the Romulan, Admiral Mendek, the Romulan. We don't see him again. We see the actor again in season 6 playing a different character, and he also plays a different character in Voyager for one episode. So he's done
He was
3
pretty
episodes
good.
of Star Trek. Yeah,
He was pretty
I
good as a
that's why I
Romulan.
looked him up. I was like, he's a convincing Romulan. He's good. He's comfortable. I feel like we should see him again. And I looked, nope, that's all we get for Mendek. No more Mendek. And then uh
Yeah, he was convincing. You know what I would have liked? I think the story was missing something for me. And the thing it was missing was what I think I haphazardly stumbled upon on the first segment when I said that Data should have been given some type of emotional upgrade to his CPU.
hmm,
And there could have been an update where he's saying, Bruce Maddox has asked me to, blah, 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 update my profile or sent me an updated file. And so I will be experiencing a heightened sense of emotions. If you started with that basis, then I would have been accepting of all of these other things and even out of character moments where he's asking Dr. Crusher to teach him how to dance and certain things. It would have made more sense. And then they could have said, well, Data's, he's got the upgraded chip, so he's gonna and then his suspicion of the Romulan spy would have also been warranted, and he could have brought his suspicions to the captain and said, "Captain, I sense that this person is not being truthful because they wanted to know my security protocols, da 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 da." And that's where the captain could say, "Well, Data, I don't know. You probably she's probably the upgrade in your chip and da 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 da, your
hmm,
emotions, and you're just being hypersensitive." That could have explained a lot of things in this episode, and
yeah.
it would have been a better crutch for me writing.
That's a good point, that it raises the stakes of every scene. It just really kind of makes everything just a little bit more, interesting or perilous, or any kind of heightened emotion in each scene. But also reminds me when you said, that he senses that the Vulcan may be lying. Again, it just reminds me, what's up with Troy, man? Troy's right there. Why can't Troy be like, Captain, can I have a word with you? And then she goes, I sense great, what's the word I'm looking for? Deception. I'm sensing great
Mhm.
deception from the ambassador.
Yeah,
And Picard be like, what do you mean, counselor? And then and then the episode's over.
yeah,
Uh, but
yeah.
that's something. So poor Troy. I wonder if Marina would read these scripts and be like, you guys know that I'm available this week, right? My character can literally
Do
sense
this.
this. Now you've got the
I don't
robot
know.
doing my
What's the point
job.
of having? Yeah,
Now
I don't know
the
what they actually gave her a superpower that it's actually too strong. It should only work with small groups, maybe just certain, like maybe just humans, for example.
hmm
And that way you limit her sphere, so she can read any human, whether they're lying, but any alien race she can't. She doesn't really. The fact that she can sense what two-dimensional beings are thinking about, or what somebody on a whole planet, a whole other solar system is thinking about, right? It's just too much of the superpower is too far, too wide-ranging, and then if that's the case, then certainly these kinds of things would just be extremely useful to have when you have an ambassador coming on who's negotiating a big deal. Uh,
So here's another. Well, this is interesting. Um,
and I have a question for you too. After
yeah, this is interesting. So we know the people that were introduced, right? We have Keiko, big introduction. Then there was the barber, uh, played by, and in the credits it just says barber, played by Matt Tufo. Um, I know him, and I feel like everybody, all the Star Trek fans know him as Mr. Mott. Mr. Mott, M-O-T. And there was even a nod to him in Picard season one, Star Trek Picard season one. It said like Mr. Mott's barber shop or something like that. And we're like, hey, he's a Bolian, a blue guy, a Bolian, the character, the aliens that I love. He's not
Yeah.
called Mr. Mott here. He's in another episode. Um, which episode is it? It says he's in episode in season five. And again, he's called Barber. So I wonder, why do we think his name is Mr. Mott? It must be because Picard references the barber, Mr. Mott. And so we all just assume that the barber he's talking about is this blue
Mm.
Bolian guy, Mr. Mott, but I guess maybe it's not because they never called him Mott. He just references the barber on the ship is called Mr. Mott, and then we see the barber in episodes before that. But I guess it could be someone different, but we all just assume that Mr. Mott is the barber. That's gonna be a question to ask at the free for all. You're like, why? That's dumb. But it's interesting because we've always known him as Mr. Mott, but maybe it's not. Now, the third character that was
Well,
introduced.
that before you say that, that instantly makes me think of to be or not to be.
Yes, me. Well, we all that think that, I'm sure. Uh, he shops at Kmart, the Blue Skin Special. Uh, now, the third character was Spot. If you know Mr.
Oh,
Spot,
you just answered my question right there. Boom.
the cat.
That's the cat, right? Does he say Spot? Because I must have missed it. I played it back and I couldn't. He doesn't say Spot. Okay, so
I
because
don't think
I
so.
rewound it. Yeah, I rewound it. I heard him say feline supplement 34
74.
or 74 or something. Yeah.
But we
And
know the cat to be Spot. Again, that's another character where it's like we know that his cat's name is Spot later on. So when
okay,
after he calls his cat
okay.
Spot, now we see that and we go, whoa, that's Spot. However, I think I think there are three different cats at least that played Spot through the years because when I first saw this one, I was like, this cat is shaggier and fluffier than the Spot I remember. So when we meet Spot in subsequent episodes or re-meet him,
Hmm.
he's not shaggy and fluffy. He's just a short hair orange cat. So
Hmm.
maybe he got a second cat and called that one Spot. Spot also changes sexes. Data calls him a he, and then in a, in
Okay.
a in a future episode, Spot gets pregnant. So what's funny is Spot's been played by multiple different cat actors.
cat cat actors.
He's been a long hair, a medium hair, and a short hair orange cat, and he's been a boy and a girl. I mean, that's a lot of usage from that one name, Spot. But anyway, yeah, we do see
uh,
Spot more in future episodes, and we all love Spot the most.
yeah, when I saw Spot, I I did think that it was Shaggy and that it would be a little bit furry on the out on the uniform for Data. So I was thinking,
Right?
oh, that might leave some hair on that uniform. So possibly left some hair on the uniform. And the other thing I was thinking was when I was watching Brent hold Spot was how difficult it is to hold a cat sometimes when it doesn't want to be held. It seemed like it
Yeah.
wanted to almost jump out of his hands.
I feel like I see that all the time with cats on TV shows. It's always a wonder to me how they can get a well-trained cat because cats are like they'll be cool the first time and the third time, but on take number nine, that cat's gonna have a mind of his own. It's gonna be
Yes.
like, it's gonna be like, dude, I am sick of this guy. His silver makeup smells weird. I'm hungry. I'm
Yeah.
gassy. Cats just are going to be like, dogs are a little easier, but cats, it's tough to get a cat to do the same thing
Yeah.
15 times over.
Yeah. I saw him holding the cat like this, like, don't go anywhere. That cat was rearing up like I can't do this anymore. If they don't get this shot on this take, I swear I'm out of here.
Yeah. So that's those were the characters
Yeah.
that were introduced on top of
Okay.
all the others. Then there was also the holographic dance partner. There was another command officer, Kei Uchizono. But yeah, wow, this was the most characters
Yeah.
introduced, even if just for a first time. And Shelley
Yeah, it was a
Desai
lot.
played Vasal. Maybe that was maybe that was that alien in the thing. I don't
Mm.
know.
Yeah, I don't know, but there was a lot of new characters. Definitely a big expansion of O'Brien's character. Loved seeing Keiko. Loved to see their whole backstory really start up. Um, Worf had a little bit to do in this. Talking about human customs and stuff. He's like, all they want to do is dance and talk and cry, and he had me laughing with that. I thought it was a funny line.
Yeah, all I want to do is zoom, a zoom, 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 and a boom, boom.
Just
So
shake the rump.
yeah, so he knows all about that. Worf does, of course. That's very important to note. But also, we had the big non-appearance mention was Bruce Maddox that we were introduced to in like the second season, I think. And I think we only saw him the one time. He's the science officer that wanted to take data away, and that they had the measure of a man about, because they were trying to take him away and say, you're ordered to come back and be basically a
Mhm.
specimen of our, um, cutting them apart or, whatever science experiments.
Yeah.
But I think no, maybe he was in two episodes. But anyway, so he was referenced again here. So that was the one non-appearance mention that I found. What did you think about the climax? The climax where we're finding out about the Vulcan Romulan deception. Because they didn't spend a lot of time on it, but I thought it was really good. Thought it was just nice to see this interesting little double take, double spin, double cross from the Romulans again. We keep having some kind of weird Romulan story where they're flipping the script on us.
Yeah, I was okay with it. I was a little bit disappointed that Starfleet allowed this person such high clearance and access without background vetting it of a higher degree. Because I can't hear you right now, but this
Oh,
is,
sorry. I was going to say, how long was she a spy for?
that's
Because,
what I'm saying.
like, if she's an
Yeah.
ambassador, she had to be on, pretending to be a Vulcan for a long time. But then how is she their sub
Yeah.
commander? Yeah, I mean, it's a little confusing there.
That part was like, well, so how does she get on the flagship Starfleet vessel and be the representative ambassador for this big supposed peace negotiation or whatever it is? Without the background and vetting, it would be, I would think that you would have to be heavily vetted to move up the ranks in Starfleet to become an ambassador on such a high scale. It's, this is not just like doing some small work on a mining planet. This is like, you know, your number one adversary that you're doing dealings with. So you would think that whoever gets sent is somebody that's been vetted and has high level of clearance and access to information. And that's what they gave the vibe of, because there were moments where Picard was acting as if the conversation was too classified to discuss around certain people. So there were
Yeah.
moments where this ambassador character was acting as if, as a matter of fact, when they first got arrived, the ambassador first arrived, dismissed Riker and said, "Thank you, we'll talk alone. We'll be,
And he said, charming lady. Yeah. And
yeah,
then
yeah,
Data's like, I'm starting to think that maybe he's being sarcastic and he actually means the exact opposite.
yes, yes." So for me, that suggested that this character had a high level of clearance that only Captain Picard and this character could discuss. Like, we're talking about high level Starfleet intelligence, and I can't have even Riker present at this kind of conversation. Even when Data asked the question about what specifically about the Romulans should I study,
Yeah.
the there was a look exchange between Picard and the
Hmm.
ambassador, like, don't tell him the specifics of what we're talking about because, again, this is classified information. So all of that suggested that this person was heavily vetted and had moved up in the ranks of Starfleet. So a little contradictory to what ends up being the climax of the story, though.
Speaking of climax of the story, man, I just dropped the baseball again. That's like 2 weeks in a row. That last time I almost dropped it. This time I completely dropped it. But it is time. That's like a foul ball. That's okay. It
Yeah,
happens.
it's savable.
Here's the 0-1
It's
pitch.
savable.
No big deal. For the home run of the episode, Cirroc Lofton, who gets the home run of today's episode? Hmm.
I'm going to give the home run of the episode to the pretty obvious Brent Spiner.
Yeah.
I mean, he carries the whole thing, so it's not that difficult. Everybody else is just kind of a supplementary, complementary character. I'm going to give an honorary shout out though to Miles O'Brien, to
Yeah.
Colomini. I thought he really delivered a nice. There were moments there, like when he kind of sat down in the office with Data and he says, "Sir," and I want to talk to you, and he has that awkwardness to his character, and he's asked him if he can talk to Keiko on his behalf. I thought that was really natural and genuine, and a good performance by Colomini. I don't get a chance to credit him as much with home runs, but I want to give them obviously the main brunt of it to Brent Spiner. He carried the episode, and
Brunt.
without him, yeah, without him, it wouldn't have worked as well. So yeah, Brent Spiner's the home run hitter.
Yeah, the home run for me is Spot, or the actor that played Spot.
Spot
But
number one.
also, yeah, but also sure, Brent Spiner, because that's the obvious answer, like you said, because he does a good job. He's funny, he's interesting, makes us laugh. We're entertained by him. We follow along with him. But also, kind of along what you're saying, I want to give the another home run to Keiko, to Rosalind Chow, because probably as far as she knew, this was the only episode she was ever going to do in Star Trek. I'm guessing she's like, maybe a couple of the actors, maybe Brent Spiner or Colomini, very likely was like, hey, you never know. I thought I was going to do one episode and I've been called back 15 times since then or whatever. You never know. You may come back. And she's probably like, stop hitting on me, creep. But anyway, you never know. But she came, she delivered. She was very like, she's got a good presence. Like I remember seeing her in this episode and thinking like I could see what they saw in her during the audition. She kind of has this good energy. She lights up a room. I could see it. And it's nice to see her origin story kind, with this crew. So good stuff from
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
Also, it's important to mention the good stuff from Homer Frizzell, Dr. Anne-Marie Segal, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackmon-Tom, TJ, Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Titus Mohler, Dr. Mohamed Noor, Tierney C. Dieckmann, Anil O. Polat, Joe Balsarotti, Mike Goo, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, my live from Tokyo, the Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Justin Weir, Jake Barrett, Henry Unger, Allyson Leach-Heid, Julie Manasfi, Jed Thompson, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, Glenn Iverson, Dave Gregory, Tim Baum, Chris Sternett, Dylan Powell, aka Star Trek, Peter Draymore, and of course, Jason Okun and Greg K. Wickstrom out in Hawaii. All right, everybody, stick
Yeah.
around. We've got the free for all up next, and we will be right back on the seventh rule. Don't touch that dial. Remember they used to say that?
You
Hey,
better
everybody,
not.
welcome back to the seventh rule of Cirroc Lofton. It is the free for all with Melissa Longo
Hello.
and Jason Okun. Uh, we've got Eve England out in Wales. We've got Chris and April Sternett, who are wine aficionados. We've got TJ Jackson-Bey out on the bridge of the Enterprise D in his cool Enterprise gear. Allyson Leach-Heid is sipping tea. Carrie Schwent is AKA Crafty Bear. That's pretty colorful behind you. Chris McGee's got a Jake. And the Matt Boardman's wearing a cool Prodigy shirt. All right. Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score.
Data. I think it's going to be a favorite because of the introduction of Keiko and some things. So I'm going to lean towards like a 7-7.
Ooh, George Murasan style. All right. Does anybody else have any guesses that doesn't already know?
I'm going to say 8-9.
I was going to say 8-2 as well.
Yeah.
8-8. 8-3.
Wow, Faith says 10.
Yeah.
And welcome Faith Howell also on the bridge of the Enterprise D, of course. All right, the answer is, let me make sure I got this right. You guys were very close. 8.1. I think that's like a 13 in Eve's metric system, which is good. That's very good. All right. Did we get any non-appearance mentions? The one like 10 times was Bruce Maddox, right? Were there any others? No.
Worf's parents.
Oh, yeah.
Did he mention his parents?
Yeah.
He did. Yes.
When they
In
were
Very
the
good.
Repromat gift shop room thing.
Right. Very
His
good.
parents give these things at weddings.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Excellent.
I can totally picture his parents at a wedding too, and it makes me smile.
Oh. I replicated it myself. I have all the specs and diagrams.
Very good.
Yeah, they're sweet. Chris McGee, did we have any some kinds of or some sorts of? My guess is 2.
We had one.
Blast.
We had Picard speaking to O'Brien right after the transporter accident. Could there have been some kind of interference from the Romulans?
Excellent. All right. Time to get to work, everybody. Fun's over. Melissa Longo, will you please get us started off on the right track by telling us what you thought of this episode? Cool shirt, by the way.
Oh, thanks. I really disliked this episode a lot. Just kidding. Just kidding. No, this episode was so much fun. I love day-to-day episodes. So this was a good, excellent day-to-day episode of seeing what happens on this flying city, village, town, whatever.
Ship.
Yeah, well, it's a town of people
Microcosm.
that interact with each other and live together. And, I think they balanced the capturing of new life and while also capturing the amount of danger they are in a lot of the time, every day, pretty much, and why their missions and the decisions and the choices that they make are so important, because there is that life, that new life happening every day, and weddings happening and dance classes happening and all this fun stuff. So I really enjoyed this episode, and they have a cat on board, so they have to be extra careful because cats are awesome. But yeah, there's so much. I just really enjoyed this episode a lot.
Oh, great stuff. Thank you very much. Melissa Longo agreed on the cats. Jason M. Okun, who thinks cats are okay. What do you think of this one?
Cats are okay. Now, this episode is certainly, to some degree, a breath of fresh air. It is different than a lot of other episodes in many different respects. Obviously, it's a one-character story. And what's kind of amazing is you take an emotionless character and you get a very emotional story. And, that is in great part due certainly to Ron Moore's script. It should not be, missed. And obviously Brent's performance, because he is pretty much in every scene in this episode. So he's, you certainly see him perform as Data, and I think, you certainly get very good performances, frankly, out of everybody. I mean, and not everybody has a lot to do. Certainly, you get a lot, more from Gates than sometimes you do an episode. So it was nice to see that aspect of her character, and certainly her personal talents in dancing were, showcased, which was really good to see. Ron Jones's music is, cannot be overlooked as well. So it's a very, very nice package. You get sort of this view of how Data sees the rest of the crew. And he talks about everybody, and there's a beat there that is in the script and not in the episode about what he thinks about Picard. And I'll save that for later, but there's actually a voiceover when he actually talks about Picard. And, even the voiceover aspect is a little bit different than all the other things we've seen. I mean, you have one or two personal logs. Here you have a voiceover going over the entire episode, which is very interesting to see. So again, it's entertaining. It has just enough jeopardy. It has wonderful acting, even though it is technically a bottle show as well. But if you do this right, you don't have to spend a ton of money to keep us interested and keep us watching.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Jason M. Okun. Hey, you can't spell okay without Okun. Wait, no, reverse that, now that I think about it. All right, Eve England is out in Wales. What did you think of this episode on your very first watch?
Yeah, completely. I mean, I think you said it, Jason. It really is a sort of breath of fresh air after some of the episodes we've had recently. And there's just so much packed into it. I just kind of enjoyed the experience of just seeing what Data does and how he views his day. So I completely agree with everything that Melissa and Jason have just said in terms of, how they brought the humanity into it. And I liked how we kind of saw, or from his perspective, how he's applying all these things that he's learning from all of his friends and colleagues on the ship. So I thought that was really interesting. And I just thought it was a really good and unusual, something different in terms of the narrative structure. We had the sort of the top and tailing of the end of the shift and the start of the shift. So we had this big view of what the day is like and how jam-packed a day actually is for them. And then having, as part of that, you had, the birth, and then you had a wedding, and you had all these sort of big moments within this almost very normal day for them. So yeah, I just thought there was just so much to it. And I almost didn't take many notes. I just thought, that was really good fun. And I just loved hearing all those sort of little snippets of everybody's lives. And obviously, it was just so cool having a DS9 sort of prequel, almost having the O'Brien's wedding. So I really enjoyed seeing that as well, and how all that sort of begun.
Yes. God, you're such a huge TNG fan now. I love it. All right. Thank you very much, Eve England out in Wales. All right, Chris Sternett, what have you got for us? Have you seen this episode recently, and did you love it?
Yeah, we watched it today just so that we were refreshed, and it reminded me of what I do like it, but not for any complex reasons. I mostly like it because it's one I can put on when I get home and I'm tired and I just want to open my nothing box. And it's sweet, it's light, it's kind of fun. There's a little bit of drama with the politics of what Picard has to deal with when the ambassador gets, vaporized but not vaporized, and he's got a protector, and all that, and so there's a little bit of meat on the bone there too, but I liked it. But I think my wife is a bigger Data fan than I am, and I think it's probably one of her favorite episodes.
Well, yeah, I have an alternate opinion.
Yeah,
let's hear it.
I liked the episode. I'm a huge Data fan, not to be confused with a huge Brent Spiner fan, but I'm a huge Data fan, and I really liked the episode. I thought it was very well written, very well directed. I think that it in the spirit of which the writers wrote it to be, and of course very well acted. And I enjoyed the juxtaposition of narrowly avoiding intergalactic war with the mundane, like Data learning how to dance and feeding his cat, things like that. And I thought, even though the episode could be dismissed easily, I thought it was actually really important to the legacy of Star Trek, because some of those things that happened, some of those events writers were able to write off of that foundation for decades, such as O'Brien getting married, such as Data keeping in contact with Commander Maddox, which we catch up with later on in Picard, decades later. So I really love the episode. There's really a lot there for me.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Chris and April Sternit. I like the quote. There was a lot of meat on that bone. Yep. That was a good one. TJ Jackson-Bey is out in Missouri. He's sporting his Lieutenant Pips. What do you think of this one?
There we go. I had to touch them, make sure they were real and not, delicious street corn. You lunkhead.
I forgot. Good job.
Anywho, so this episode is probably one of my favorites because of this is just kind of like a day on the Enterprise. And as a kid, when I watched this episode, it made me feel like, okay, this is a place where people live. Like I can just live on this ship, and all of these awesome, cool things, happen every day. 4 people got promoted, folks got married, they almost got blown up. The whole range of life is happening, in this little ship floating around in space, and that appealed to me. Also, enjoyed that they even have like a night watch when they change shifts on the bridge. I thought that was the neatest thing when I was a kid. And, again, that made me feel like, okay, people live here. These are normal people that interact. They, want to keep their circadian rhythm, going and all of that. And also, on top of all of that awesome stuff, it has Romulans in it. So big plus, big plus. And obviously, for the political part of the episode, it's just glaringly obvious that it's a conspiracy and Picard is in the collusion with the Romulans. More to come on that later. I really enjoyed specifically, following Data around though, and just, seeing the way that he kind of sees the world and how he tries to, when he knows he's going to have an interaction with someone, in his mind, he's thinking, oh, I think, if I say this, they'll probably be happy or they'll be sad, or, oh, this might make them mad, or it might be funny, or, something like that. And he actually has probabilities like, oh, there's a 17% chance that Captain Picard is not going to follow regulations here, and we're about to go to the neutral zone.
What a coincidence. That's exactly the poll that I was launching right now.
I win.
You sure do.
Okay.
I'm also going to add a NAM for this episode, and I'm going to award that to Dr. Richard Daystrom, because they mentioned the Daystrom Institute. That's where he's writing to Commander Maddox. I thought it was interesting that they kept in touch too, since in Measure of a Man, I didn't really get any warm feelings about Commander Maddox. So, but again, that just kind of tells us who Data is. This guy wants to take you apart, and where he may not be able to put you together, but you're still willing, as a scientist and an explorer and someone, curious about himself, will keep in touch with the person that has the technical skills to advance that study. So I thought that was interesting. Also really, really was touched when Dr. Crusher left Data in the holodeck, and he's dancing with this hologram with this weird ass, big ass smile on his face. And because that again tells me who Data is, that he's really searching, for that humanity, and he's, taking on the cues of the people around him and practicing. And that's not really that different from what we do. and emulating, the people around us, especially, kids. We see kids do that. And, even people that just struggle with social interaction, do these things. And, to see Data go through that, I thought that just really hit me in the feelings when he's dancing and he has this big old grin on his smile or a smile on his face because that's the last thing that Dr. Crusher told him. Just like, if she was showing him a dance move, he'd keep going until she yelled, "Data, stop!" Like just cool it off. Fortunately, someone told him, or maybe he practiced some more, and he was not smiling that way when he danced with Keiko. So that was awesome. So I got more. I'll leave it for things left unsaid. But again, wonderful episode. Lunkheads.
Lunkheads. Thanks very much for that, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri. All right. Allyson Leach-Heid in New Mexico, probably. Cool Deep Space Nine shirt. What'd you think of this one?
Oh, it's fun. It's one of my favorites. I love slice of life episodes and showing that Data puts so much effort into his friendships is heartwarming and wonderful. And that the people of the Enterprise also put that much effort into their friendships with Data is, I love it. When Data comes to see Geordi while he's getting his hair freshened up for the wedding, Geordi stopping, taking time, like, no, this is how this should have gone, or, this would have made it easier for O'Brien. Like, you can't just come in and say that. And like, he took the time in a very sincere way to explain to his best friend. This is the first time Data has called Geordi his best friend. So yay. We're getting there. And I love that. And when he goes to talk to Troy, I love Data and Troy scenes because they are the exact opposite end of the spectrum. And I loved Data explaining, like, of my friends, she's the one I don't understand the most. I'm like, of course. We're also probably the one she doesn't understand the most. And the fact that you two take the time to be friends is lovely. I also really liked that we had the short little scene with Data and Picard and the baby. It was very quick and short. And, as much as Picard doesn't feel comfortable around children, but he has a new charge in his care. And he took the time to go meet this person who is now on his ship. I loved that. I thought that was very sweet. And I don't think there's much else I can add for like how heartwarming and wonderful this episode is. I want to call out the set dressers for the Arboretum and all of the flower arrangements because they were wonderful and they always make me happy because I use such unconventional flower arrangements than, of course, what we're used to. So I love seeing, like, we got our big thistle flowers and moss everywhere and hanging flowers. I'm like, yes. So I'm always happy when we get to see Keiko in her element with all of her plants. The set dressers having the best time doing that. So I love it. It's always way too much fun. And my favorite line from Data is, "I am not nervous. I am confused." Because that is definitely something I can relate to. So always watch it. Don't, that one's not one that ever gets skipped. And sometimes I'll just need it one day. I'm like, we'll watch that one today.
Great stuff. Great one. Yeah. Keiko's a botanist. I want to talk to Cirroc about that, but we didn't have time. We were raving about this episode, but that was fun to see her in there and good knowledge on the thistle. That was a word my Spanish grandmother could never say. Thistle. Carrie Schwent is here. What's up, Carrie? What'd you think of this one?
I love this episode. It's probably my favorite Data episode. He has so many just laugh out loud moments through the entire thing. I've got a lot of stuff written down, so I'm going to I'll be looking down more than I usually do, so I'll try to stick to that so I don't diverge too much. But I found out that Data was chosen for the whole day in the life episode because he's the only crew member who's awake 24 hours a day. So we could start off, have the entire day and not have to log how long he slept, for instance. And I guess the Romulan arc was added to sort of spice up the plot a little bit because it needed just a little bit more drama than apparently just a normal day with a wedding would have. I'm kind of of two minds on it because I thought the wedding part would have been enough, and without the Romulan stuff, maybe we could have gotten more of Miles and Keiko, maybe. But that said, I do like the Romulan stuff. The two guest actors for them are great. The actor playing Mendek is in one of my favorite Voyager episodes, playing another very menacing sort of character, and that man just has a fantastic voice. Just as an aside, and yep, and of course we get Keiko this up because I love her. Every time I see her in anything else, including as Mulan's mom in the live action version of Mulan, I go, oh look, there's Keiko, and I get all super excited. And who doesn't love a wedding? And they wanted to do a wedding in the episode, but didn't want to use one of the main crew members and have this random spouse come out of nowhere. So because they focused on a secondary character, that's how we got the awesome character that is Keiko, and how much more we get from her later on. And she looked amazing at the wedding. I found this great photo on Memory Alpha that I had fun with my photo settings on my camera with, and made it all fun and colorful, and it looked like a painting. And she looked absolutely gorgeous in it. Before I get to my limerick, there is a very strange line in Memory Alpha when they're describing the section where Riker's telling the story while sitting on the horseshoe console, and the line says that he's sitting on the console, just telling a gruesomely funny story. Now, in the comments below, and my fellow free-for-allers here, and I want to know, in things left unsaid from you guys, what story was he telling? And wrong answers only. And people in the comments below, have some fun with it, because it's Riker. There's no end to fun to have with that. But for the limerick, it's, obviously data centric. He's sort of wrapping up his log with a little poem. At the end of today, this I know now, that my friends need to end their own row. Picking a gift can be hard. Life that has love can be charmed. When it wants to eat, my cat will meow. And yay, kitty.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Carrie Schwent, aka Crafty Bear. All right. Chris McGee, the Dark Lord, is here. What do you think of this episode, Chris McGee? Ever seen it before?
No, it's my first time. So much of what I'm about to say has already been said, so I didn't, probably in a previous segment as well. So please forgive me if it seems I'm gushing here. I think this is a fantastic episode that gives viewers so much. For example, I love that the narration takes the form of the second officer's log sent to Commander Bruce Maddox, whom Data has apparently continued corresponding with after the events of the Measure of a Man. We see the barbershop for the first time with a Bolian barber, of course, but I don't think it's Mott. O'Brien's role is finally expanded, which in my opinion is overdue. And of course, we meet his fiancee and then wife, Keiko, for the first time. We see Data's cat, Spot, for the first time. We get to see the transition between day watch and night watch on the bridge. We learn about the dancing doctor, and we get some of the best comedy from Brent Spiner in the entire run of the show, a certain later episode notwithstanding. As Carrie mentioned, it's great seeing Alan Scarf playing Admiral Mendak. His unique voice is always welcome. As Jason mentioned, of course, Ron Jones does an excellent job as usual with a memorable musical score that starts immediately and continues its theme throughout the episode. The mini storyline of Lieutenant Juarez was delightful, starting from the very brief mention of her going into labor at the beginning of the episode and continuing until that welcome aboard payoff at the end. As a last observation, it's odd seeing a room specifically made for replicators. Either not everyone has a replicator in the quarters, or more likely, this is the ship's stores mentioned by Tasha Yar in The Naked Now. Since Mai isn't here today, I'll bring up their main criticism of the episode in Things Left Unsaid. So please subscribe to the Seventh Rule Patreon if you want to hear it. And the memorable quote of the episode that has always stuck with me all these years is, "Some days you get the bear, and some days the bear gets you."
Mm-hmm. Also, Chris McGee gave us an update on Mr. Mott. Remember, Cirroc, we were talking about Mr. Mott? Yeah, so Mr. Mott is a different Bolian than the one we see the first two times. So that's interesting to note. Thank you very much, Chris McGee. The Matt Boardman's up. What's up, the Matt? What do you think of this one?
Oh, I love this episode. And also, Chris just totally sea-crested us right there with that one. With his, well, you have to wait till things left unsaid. No, episodes like this remind me of why I love The Next Generation. This is an episode that if I'm having trouble sleeping at night, I'll throw it on, and it helps me, it helps relax me, helps me go to bed. It reminds me a lot of the MASH episode Dear Dad, and I love the fact that we get to see life through Data's eyes, and despite being a complex individual, there's this wonderful innocence about him. There's this wonderful innocence about this episode, even though we have the Romulan stuff and everything. I don't know. I don't know if it's Ron Jones' music that plays into it. I don't know if it's, we get Data approaching Beverly with the dancing doctor, which I think is fantastic that Gates did all of her own dancing. I was watching, what was it? The Labyrinth the other day, and I just happened to be watching through the credits, and it said the choreography for The Labyrinth was done by Cheryl McFadden. I was like, no way. I had no idea that she did that. For everybody else did, but for me, I don't know, sometimes I live out on Mars, but just a good overall wholesome episode. For me, it's what makes Next Generation, stuff like this that makes Next Generation so enjoyable. And I think, I forget who exactly mentioned it, but there's so much stuff that spins off from this later on in other episodes. And I love that. I love when you have something that probably on paper was meant to be sort of a simple episode, but man, had such an impact on all the other writers that they pulled pieces from this, like the O'Briens. I mean, what is that? O'Brien's only the most important man in the galaxy, right? And so, I mean, I don't know, just great episode, and always fun to watch it.
Excellent. Thank you very much. The Matt Boardman, who naps to Data's day. Faith Howell is here. What's up, Faith? It's good to see you again. What do you think of this episode?
As you guys have all said, it's just a really easy to enjoy episode. I also love that it is a touch point for so many other things later on. Especially love how Data specifically calls Geordi his best friend. I love that hair wand. Can I get me one of those? And the maternity gown was really inventive. I wish I'd have had one of those. I also really enjoy, as a teacher, how Data starts off specifically recording his log as primary source material for research. And I love the idea that Bruce Maddox and other scientists are using this recording to learn more about how Data's mind works and what's going on in the Enterprise, and just about, this kind of stuff in general. So fun times.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Faith Howell, on the bridge of the Enterprise D. All right, it's time for Jake's final take, everybody. Your patience is rewarded. Any final thoughts on this episode, Cirroc?
Yeah, the things that I liked about one, it opened with the second officer's personal log. I think the last episode opened with counselor's log, and I like when we get different characters having their own logs. It just gives me just another perspective. I'm used to the captain's log, but I like to hear other characters getting their login moments. It's kind of like a diary moment, so it gets you inside of where they're mentally at. The other thing I want to do is recognize the wardrobe. I thought the wardrobe was kind of exceptional. Ambassador T'Pel's headdress and layers looked really exotic and looked diplomatic. So I did like the way the wardrobe was set off for that. And also, Ambassador had another wardrobe change with this kind of Viking style cap that also exposed the ear. It was a red cap and it looked really cool to me. I thought, what a nice kind of play on a Viking's helmet and making it into like this, wardrobe piece was pretty cool for me. Love to see the birth of a child in this episode. That's also just a part of the everyday life that we all have, and to see it happen on this ship is another sense of humanity that we feel a sense of community on the ship. So I love to see that. Also like the moment that Picard is looking at the baby and then kind of showing his sensitivity to children, as opposed to how the show started with him being Mr. Anti-Kid guy. So this was a good contrast to that. Shows some maturing for me as far as Picard's character. Data talking about feelings like irony and jives or insults or whatever, and nervousness. That all reminded me of the animated Inside Out and Inside Out 2, and how those characters are basically based on emotions. So this is essentially Data's Inside Out moment, where he's talking and sensing some of these feelings. So I thought that was like a good, kind of a flashback to me for those correlation right there. And then the last thing I'm going to mention is that in the beginning, they talked about the celebration of the Hindu Festival of Lights. And I like that they're acknowledging another culture in this episode. And it just shows a level of diversity, a level of acknowledgement that you don't get on other shows. You don't get that kind of, confirmation or validation of somebody else's existence in the way that you do in this particular moment. So yeah, let's celebrate the Hindu Festival of Light. Let's celebrate other cultures and their traditions. And I think that's a great thing to acknowledge. So those are my positive takes.
Ooh, positive takes. All right, everybody. In the comments below, here's a trivia question for you. How do you spell Mr. Mott? How is his name spelled in Star Trek in the credits? Let us know in the comments below. It's a pretty interesting piece of trivia. I'd say thank you to Faith, Howell, Matt Boardman, Matt Boardman, that is, Chris McGee, Carrie Schwent, Allyson Leach-Heid, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Chris and April Sternett, Eve England out in Wales. It's like midnight for her practically. Jason M. Okun, Melissa Longo. For myself, Cirroc Lofton, Melissa Longo, and of course, Aaron Eisenberg. Thank you all very much for hanging out with us. Join our Patreon, patreon.com/the7th-rule, or else don't. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. And until then, always remember the 7th rule.